December. Yeah, it wasn't this year.
It's getting too hot for me.
And this hasn't even.
Appears we have
Oh,
quorum.
he always thank you for keeping me on track. Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:01. I will call this meeting, the June 14th meeting of the MPO Board, to order. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Chair, we have Commissioner Mujillo on the line. We need to have a motion and a second to allow her virtual presentation or her virtual participation in today's meeting.
So moved. Second.
All right, thank you. Roll call.
Yes, Madam Chair. Councilor Corin,
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Shojo Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Trustee Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Mujillo, you can vote on this, I suppose,
Yes.
and Madam Chair.
All right, yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
All right, thank you. And therefore, because we did that, we do not need to do another roll call for a quorum, correct?
Does seem superfluous, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Moving on to conflict of interest. Does anyone on the board have a conflict or perceived conflict of interest with today's agenda?
No.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, public comment? Okay, no public comment. May I get a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
I'll move approval. Sanchez.
Second, Graham.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, this is on the motion to approve the agenda. Councilor Corin,
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Shojo Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Trustee Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Commissioner Mujillo,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the approval of the minutes from May 10th. May I get a motion and a second, please?
I'll move approval. Sanchez.
Second, Corin.
All right,
This is on the motion to approve the minutes. Councilor Corin,
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Shojo Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Trustee Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner Mujillo,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to action items, 7.1, Resolution 23-11, a resolution adopting the Mesilla Valley MPO Public Participation Plan. May I get a motion and a second, please?
So
To
moved.
approve, Graham.
Well, that was, yeah. I don't even know who.
Madam Chair, of record, we will say that Councilor Graham made the motion and Commissioner Shojo Hernandez seconded. At this time, Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Mr. Loya.
Good afternoon, members of the Policy Board. Dominic Lawyer for Mesilla Valley MPO staff. So we will be talking about the Public Participation Plan. As we've discussed before on this, it does provide a guide for all public participation activities. It provides a process and tools to facilitate public participation. Basically, there was one major change made to this, and this was because in 2020, with the pandemic, we realized we had no mechanism to do virtual public engagement. So that has been added in. It is on page 13 of the document itself and page 55 of your packet. And it is left vague for the reason of that way we can use whatever happens to be available at the time for virtual public participation as things change, as we know, depending on what happens to be available, what is in fashion at the time, so to say, whether it's Zoom or things such as YouTube, being able to just put TikTok, exactly. So that is the reason for it being vague and just saying that we will continually research into how to do virtual public participation and use that. The rest of the changes were just to clean up the document as to the nature of the changing relationship between the Mesilla Valley MPO and the City of Las Cruces, as well as a few things like it referred to policy committee instead of policy board, things like that. So those are the general changes of it. Like I said, just minor. The BPAC did recommend approval at their May 16th meeting. The TAC recommended approval June 1st meeting, and we are requesting the policy board approve the public participation plan, and I will now stand for any comments or questions.
I'm sorry. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Mr. Loya regarding this?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Sanchez.
I just want to say I'm looking forward to actually having this updated, so thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. All right. I guess we can do a roll call.
Yes, Madam Chair. Councilor Corrin,
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo,
Yes.
Councilor Graham,
Yes.
Commissioner Sholjo Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Trustee Merrick,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
sorry, Commissioner Murillo,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Loya. The next item on the agenda for discussion is 8.1, boundary smoothing presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will also be presenting this, Dominic Loya for MPO staff. So with the census, 2020 census, every time that happens, every 10 years, we do boundary smoothing. We look at the urban areas of the MPO, and we figure out what we want included in that. So as I said, it was, the urban areas are considered anything that is 5,000 population or more, or 2,000 housing units or more. And it's done by dwelling units per square mile. So this is what it looks like right now, unsmoothed. This is what the urban area is considered. So as you can see here, we have areas that are, it's not continuous. We have areas that are considered within the urban area that are not connected basically to the town of Mesilla and the city of Las Cruces, which are the major portions of the urban area. So this is basically a chart that was put together real quickly for some of this stuff. And basically it's kind of what is used, what this stuff is used for and who does it. So we can go back to this later if we need to. So in general, boundary smoothing it's the urban boundary area, which is created by the Census Bureau. This is done exclusively by them. As I said before, it's 2,000 homes or 5,000 people. It's created using the 2020 census block data. And its approving authority is the Office of Management and Budget. So it's a federal thing. And they are due basically 2 years after every census. So it was due on December of 2022. So the smoothed urban areas are created by the MPO. We expand the urban area boundaries to include basically our complete networks that we have out there, things that we believe that should be in there. Again, is created using the 2020 urban area, and it's the approving authority or the policy board, NMDOT and FHWA, and that's due in September. Things that can go in it are things like the airport, things like that. You can look at things and go, this should be within the urban area. should we include those pieces that are hanging out there that we saw? Should those be included in the urban area? Things like that. And then we have the Metropolitan Planning Area Boundary. It's created by the MPO with NMDOT, and it's basically the entire area, it's the MPO area for transportation planning activities and projects. Also created using the newest data, and approving authority is the MPO Policy Board and NMDOT, and it's due to September 2023. This is something we're not looking at changing. The last time it was changed was to adjust some of the boundaries between the Mesilla Valley MPO and the El Paso MPO. So in general, this doesn't move much unless something comes up that becomes either contention or the urban area grows beyond the boundaries of where the MPO boundaries are. So when we talk about 2,000 dwelling units, that kind of leaves out commercial areas. So commercial areas within the urban area are designed by impervious surfaces. So as we can see up here, this is all the impervious surfaces within the city of Las Cruces and town of Mesilla. And then as we go down the valley and up the valley, and then this is El Paso down here. So that's how we get the commercial areas into the urban areas. And just to remind everybody, this is the MPO area. This is our planning area. Right here at the very corner of this is Gadsden High School. So we go from Gadsden High School all the way up to Radium Springs. And then east, it's out just past the airport, all the way basically to the top of San Augustine Pass. So as I said before, this is the area itself. As you can see, there are areas of urbanization that are not connected. So what part of this will be, we will present options on this. So one option will be just to leave it as is. Another option will be to include some of those areas. And then we will have other options which include like the Las Cruces International Airport and things like that. Picacho Hills, which is also where we can see is fairly urbanized, but is not within that boundary. So this will be an action item at your next meeting. And as I said, alternatives will be presented. Now, Madam Chair, I believe we have a few members of the audience, if you would allow them, that would like to speak.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
First, I will call up Mr. Andy Hume. He will be speaking for the airport. And then we also have Ms. Cecilia Villegas, and she'll be speaking for the industrial park.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Loya.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the MPO Policy Board. My name is Andy Hume, and I serve as the Director for Las Cruces International Airport. It's a pleasure to see some familiar faces up here. Hope everyone's doing well. It's my privilege to speak on behalf of the airport in this process. There are a couple of reasons why I think the airport should be considered to be part of the boundary smoothing area. The first is that we're part of the transportation network. And I know, speaking on behalf of the City Council, they have really put forward the promotion of the airport as a economic driver for our region and really promoting transportation, its role in the transportation network. We've worked with the MPO to complete those connections between air travel and ground transportation. So having us in the boundary smoothing area really makes a lot of sense from that standpoint as part of the overall transportation network. The other reason is just overall history. Those of you who know me know that I'm not one of those types of people that says, well, that's the way we've always done it. But in this particular case, it's appropriate because we have done it that way in the past and to keep that continuity moving forward. So thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hume. All right.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board. Cecilia Villegas with the City of Las Cruces in my capacity as the Industrial Park Manager out just south of the airport. So can I say ditto to Andy? The industrial park has gotten a lot of attention recently. We're actually going to council on Tuesday with a new project. Like Andy mentioned, there's a lot of transportation. We have distribution operations there. There's a lot of action. There's over 1,000 employees currently at our industrial park, and it's just going to grow more and more. So I do feel that it should be included, and in support of including it as an urban. Not to mention its impact to possible future funding versus rural versus urban. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, Madam Chair, I'll now stand for any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments for any of the presenters on this topic?
I guess I have a sort of a question that is going to ask you to be slightly uncomfortable, so sorry, I always do that to you. Could you give us any editorial comment on what the pros and cons of these potential things are, or could that be part of the presentation next time around? Just, you know, I don't have a sense of cons in my mind, so I would be curious to hear that from your perspective, and if there is anything, if you feel comfortable making those editorial remarks, I would greatly appreciate them.
I cannot hear what the question was or what the concern was. Could not hear.
Yeah, could you
Sorry.
repeat that? I'm sorry, Counselor.
I'm curious if either today, if you were up for offering some insight as to what the pros and cons of changing it up and smoothing the borders more inclusively would be my always tendency. If you have those insights, or if they could be part of what we hear at the next meeting, what the pros and cons are for each sort of approach. And I will acknowledge my bias toward inclusivity right away, but I suspect you have other insights. So thank you in advance.
Madam Chair, Council Horn, I can certainly answer some of that question right now. So basically there are two pots of money. We have the urban funds, we have the rural funds. So the pros of the urban funds, there are a lot more funding in the urban pot, but there's higher competition. So, and then you have rural funds, which is a much smaller pot, but there's also much less competition. So it does depend. That's kind of where the balancing act comes in. In general, though, and that's just from the transportation standpoint. That doesn't count anybody else or any new funding that's coming in. FHWA is one pot, but you also have FAA, which is a totally different pot of money. So, and on that portion, I'm not sure how it would work between urban and rural with the FAA. But from the FHWA standpoint, basically, more money is given to the urban area. So it's a bigger pot of money to go after. So as I said, but higher competition.
Thank you. That was extremely helpful, and I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Thank you,
Madam
Counselor.
Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
I think a lot of that, I think I'm still, even though we have the different competitions, I'd be curious to understand, I don't know whether that's you all or even Mr. Hume, to be able to understand, where do we feel that or I guess I should say we, I just think of the MPO, the policy board, but I think the city of Las Cruces, where would they be best positioned to make sure they're getting the funds that they need to continue to grow? Because I think, now, me speaking as a constituent and a member of this community, I would love to see the service continue to expand at the airport in particular, because if I can save an hour drive to El Paso and I can just go up the road 10 minutes and I'm there, my business is generally I go to Phoenix and I go to LA, which I know just looking at Advanced Air flies to Phoenix and Hawthorne. So, I would love to continue to see the service at the airport grow, and I just would love to understand when we approve, or when this is up for approval, to understand, kind of as we talk the pros and cons, but also understanding where do we think, I understand the competition piece, but where will we have the best choice to provide them the opportunities to succeed? And I know it's looking into a crystal ball, but like I said, and we don't have to answer that now, but I think when we have this presented, those are the things I would love to understand better, along with understanding, like you said, the differences between the rural and the urban funds.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Sanchez, we can certainly look into that and see what we can come up with as to how it would be. We can of course, speak with the airport and things like that, depending on how they would like to also, because as I said, there's also the FAA funds, which being within the urban boundary might affect. So we can speak with them and then see where it would be best for them and give you that presentation, or give you that with the presentation.
And I think even on the industrial park as well, I mean, I think we see the same issue. Well, it doesn't fall in the Mesilla Valley MPO area, but in the county in Santa Teresa, when we're trying to get transportation options for the industrial park there, it's like just trying to figure out where can we go get funds? How can we continue to do that? So I think it's important to have options and seeing how we're best aligned in making these determinations for those things. So thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And so, Mr. Loya, I know, and Mr. Ray, this has been discussed for years, the connection between Santa Teresa and a route coming onto I-10. I mean, is this kind of in the same realm that what we're discussing here for this presentation?
Madam Chair, Mayor Barraza, yes, that roadway proposal would definitely be impacted by the decision that's made by the board as far as the urban area boundaries are concerned. Now, I will say that regardless of what happens if that project proposal goes forward, it will be going through most distinctly rural areas. But I think it's important to understand that this decision would impact the High Mesa Road project proposal as to what kind of money would be available for the city, the county, to pursue that project at the northern termini of that proposal. Just to sort of answer some of the other questions that have been raised in the discussion so far, staff is going to make a recommendation about this. We will let you know what our preference about the board's decision is. And also when we present the options next month, not next month, in August, the board should understand that they're not proposals that the board is locked into. The board can come up with whatever alternatives sketched out on the map that it feels like, that the proposals are kind of there just to anchor the conversation, but the board will be at liberty to make whatever determination that it deems to be best.
Okay. Madam Chair, can I add something to that? So in previous conversations that you and I have had, Andrew, regarding the proposal or choices, I guess. I can't think of the correct word right now, but you definitely would take all that into account.
Yes, yes.
Our previous discussions.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank
Yes,
you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Murillo, any comments, questions? No? Okay. All right.
Not,
Oh, yes.
no, I said not at this
Oh,
time. Thank you.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Loya. Appreciate it. And
Thank you, Madam Chair.
MPO board updates. Do we have any board updates? Dun, dun, dun. Okay. All right. Seeing none. NMDOT updates, Mr. Love.
Harold Love, NMDOT. We only have one active project, which is pretty much finishing up, and that is the US 70 project from Delray to Nassau. All the paving work on the frontage road has been completed. The only thing that's left is to finish up the striping and signing. That's all I have.
Madam Chair, this is Andrew Ray. If I could ask Mr. Love the irritating question, but we did have the Deputy Secretary here give us a promise last month that there was going to be a new D1 engineer at this meeting, and it looks like that didn't happen. Is there any update on the status of the district engineer position?
No, I am feeling your pain. We have not heard anything yet. No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Love. We'll patiently wait for the district engineer, for District 1. All right.
We don't care about District 4. Just-
All right, Andrew?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Andrew Ray for MPO staff updates. Got a number today, so please bear with me. I want to make sure I get everything. First of all, on the MPO transition process, I spoke with the Realtor just this week. We are making some more progress on solidifying office alternatives. I am not in a position to give any more detail here on the record about that, but I'm happy to answer any questions that any of the board members have off the record about the office alternatives, but I just want to publicly let the board know that we are continuing to make progress on that front. Unfortunately, on the negative side, I still have not yet heard anything from the city administration regarding the fiscal agent fee. This is important for us to be able to move on because that has a significant impact on the available operational budget for the MPO. So I don't know how much I actually have for rent and things of that nature until I have that offer. It has been 2 months now that we have been waiting, so I hope that we will be hearing something from the city soon on that. Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, just to interject, I was just going to ask you, it has been, and you reiterated, it has been a couple of months. Is there any way that I can implore our city councilors to help with this, or do we schedule a
been.
meeting? I'm sorry?
I have brought it up with the city manager
Okay.
a couple of times.
Thank you, Vice
So I
Chair.
will remind.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry, and just, I really would like to get that fee so we could move forward because I would like to see this done and I just don't want to be in a position where it gets held over to the next chairperson to have to deal with this next year. So
Well, and
that's
it
my
also,
sense of urgency.
it also bears repeating that the real estate market for commercial properties right now is very thin. So something could get pulled out from under us that we think is very promising if we're not able, if we're still kind of in this holding pattern. So just kind of reemphasizing that point, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Madam Chair, or should I move on to the next?
You can move on. Thank you,
Okay.
Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do, as we announced at last month's meeting, we do now sadly have a vacancy here on MPO staff with Dr. McAdams' retirement. I can say he has safely made it down to Texas and is enjoying his time there so far. The position, we have had a very successful and productive relationship with City of Las Cruces Human Resources. This go around, the job has already been posted and is actually already nearing its closing phase. The job is going to close on Monday. I will be out of the office to attend the statewide MPO quarterly almost all of next week, so I will not be back in the office to start dealing with that until the end of next week at the earliest. But it is possible, probably not likely, but possible that we might in fact have the new person on board at the next policy board meeting. Although a la NMDOT, I will undoubtedly regret saying that, but we have made very good progress on this so far, so I'm hopeful that we will continue to make good progress and that the transit planner position will not be vacant for very long. So does anybody have any questions about that before I move on? All right, very good. Lastly, I want to remind the board that this is the last meeting that we have at the Doña County Commission Chambers for calendar year 2023. I also want to remind the board that this board is on vacation in the month of July. I know I always get a couple people asking me the second Tuesday of July, are we having a meeting tomorrow? No, there is no meeting in July. So I'm telling you right now, there's no meeting in July. We're not going to have a special meeting, so you're all on vacation. However, please do remember that the next meeting is going to be at City Hall. We also do have some people who, every year, we've got people who go to the wrong place during the transition. We will be reminding people, but the next meeting is at the Las Cruces City Hall on August the 9th at 1 p.m. And I believe that is everything for MPO staff, so I'll stand now for any questions.
All right. Okay. And then we have public comment? No, no public comment? I'd just like to say thank you, everyone, for participating and attending today. And Commissioner, thank you for participating via WebEx. And it was good to see everyone. With that, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved. Shalder Hernandez.
Second.
We'll give credit to Councilor Bencomo.
All right. We are adjourned at 1:31. All right. Someone knows.